Chapter 24. Dr. Frederick Chilton stood in the corner outside of Hannibal Lecter's cell. With Chilton were 3 large orderlies. One carried a straitjacket and leg restraints, and the other held a can of mace. The third loaded a tranquilizer dart into his air rifle. Lecter was reading an actuarial chart at his table and taking notes. He had heard the footsteps coming. He heard the rifle breech close behind him, but he continued to read and gave no sign that he knew Chilton was there. Chilton had sent the newspapers at noon and let him wait until night to find out his punishment for helping the dragon. "Dr. Lecter?" Chilton said. Lecter turned around. "Good evening, Dr. Chilton." He didn't acknowledge the presence of the guards. He only looked at Chilton. "I've come for all your books. All of your books." "I see. May I ask how long you intend to keep them?" "That depends on your attitude." "This is your decision?" "I decide the punitive measures here." "Of course you do. It's not the sort of thing Will Graham would request." "Back up to the net and slip these on, Dr. Lecter. I won't ask you twice." "Certainly, Dr. Chilton. I hope that's a 39. The 37s are snug around the chest." Dr. Lecter put on the restraints as though they were dinner clothes. An orderly reached through the barrier and fastened them from the back. "Help him to his cot," Chilton said. While the orderly stripped the bookshelves, Chilton polished his glasses and stirred Lecter's personal papers with a pen. Lecter watched from the shadowed corner of his cell, but there was a curious grace about him, even in restraints. "Beneath the yellow folder," Lecter said quietly, "you'll find a rejection slip the archives sent you. It was brought to me by mistake with some of my archives mail, and I'm afraid I opened it without looking at the envelope. Sorry." Chilton reddened. He spoke to an orderly. "I think you'd better take the seat off Dr. Lecter's toilet." Chilton looked at the actuarial table. Lecter had written his age at the top, 41. "And what do you have here?" Chilton asked. "Time," Dr. Lecter said. Section Chief Brian Zeller took the courier's case and the wheelchair wheels into the instrumental analysis, walking at a rate that made his garbadine pants whistle. The staff, held over from the day shift, knew that whistling sound very well. Zeller was in a hurry. There had been enough delays. The weary courier, his flight from Chicago delayed by weather and then diverted to Philadelphia, had rented a car and driven down to the FBI laboratory in Washington. The Chicago Police Laboratory is efficient, but there are things it's not equipped to do. Zeller prepared to do them now. At the mass spectrometer, he dropped off the paint flecks from Lowndes' car door. Beverly Katz and Hair and Fiber got the wheels to share with the others in the section. Zeller's last stop was a small hot room where Lisa Lake bent over her gas chromatograph. She was testing ashes from a Florida arson case, watching the stylus trace its spiky line on the moving graph. "Isflutoluid," she said. "That is what he lit it with." She had looked at so many samples that she could distinguish brands without searching through the manual. Zeller took his eyes off Lisa Lake and rebuked himself severely for feeling pleasure in the office. He cleared his throat and held up 2 shiny paint cans. "Chicago?" she said. Zeller nodded. She checked the condition of the cans and seal of the lids. One can contained the ashes from the wheelchair, the other charred material from Lowndes. "How long has it been in the cans?" 6 hours anyway," Zeller said. "I'll hit space it." She pierced the lid with a heavy-duty syringe, extracted air that had been confined with the ashes, and injected the air directly into the gas chromatograph. She made minute adjustments. As the sample moved along the machine's 500-foot column, the stylus jingled on the wide graph paper. "Unleaded," she said. "It's gasol, unleaded gasol. Don't see much of that." She flipped quickly through the loosely filed of sample graphs. "I can't give you a brand yet. Let me do it with Pentane, and I'll get back to you." "Good," Zeller said. Pentane would dissolve the fluid in the ashes, then fractionate early in the chromatograph, leaving the fluids for fine analysis. By 1 a.m., Zeller had all he could get. Lisa Lake succeeded in naming the gasol. Freddie Lowndes was burned with a Servco Supreme blend. Patient brushing in the grooves of the wheelchair treads yielded 2 kinds of carpet fiber, wood and synthetic. Mold and dirt in the treads indicated the chair had been stored in a cool, dark place. The other results were less satisfactory. The paint flecks were not original factory paint. Blasted in the mass spectrometer and compared with the National Automotive Paint File, the paint proved to be high quality Duco enamel manufactured in a lot of 186,000 gallons during the first quarter of 1978 for sale to several automotive paint shop chains. Zeller had hoped to pinpoint the make of a vehicle and the approximate time of manufacture. He telexed the results to Chicago. The Chicago Police Department wanted its wheels back. The wheels made an awkward package for the courier. Zeller put written lab reports in his pouch along with the mail and a package that had come for Graham. "Federal Express, I'm not," the courier said, when he was sure Zeller couldn't hear him. The Justice Department maintained several small apartments near 7th District Court in Chicago for the use of jurists and favored expert witnesses when court is in session. Graham stayed in one of these, with Crawford across the hall. He came in at 9 p.m., tired and wet. He had not eaten since breakfast on the plane from Washington, and the thought of food repelled him. Rainy Wednesday was over at last. It was as bad a day as he could remember. With Lowndes dead, it seemed like he was next, and all day Chester had watched his back, while he was in Lowndes' garage, while he stood in the rain of the scorched pavement where Lowndes was burned, with the strobe lights flashing in his face. He told the press he was grieved at the loss of his friend Frederick Lowndes. He was going to the funeral too. So were a number of federal agents and police, in the hope that the killer would come to see Graham grieve. Actually, he felt nothing he could name, just cold nausea and an occasional wave of sickly exhilaration that he had not burned to death instead of Lowndes. It seemed to Graham that he learned nothing in 40 years. He'd just gotten tired. He made a big martini and drank it while he undressed. He had another after his shower while he watched the news. An FBI trap to catch the Tooth Fairy backfires, and a veteran reporter is dead. We'll be back with details and eyewitness news after this. They were referring to the killer as the Dragon before the newscast was over. The Tatler had spilled it all onto the networks. Graham wasn't surprised. Thursday's edition should sell well. He made a third martini and called Molly. He had seen the television news at 6 and 10 o'clock, and she had seen a Tatler. She knew that Graham had been the bait in a trap. "You should have told me, Will." "Maybe. I don't think so." "Will he try to kill you now?" "Sooner or later. It'd be hard for him now, since I'm moving around. I'm covered all the time, Molly, and he knows it. I'll be okay." "You sound a little slurry. Have you been to see your friend in the fridge?" "I had a couple." "How do you feel?" "Fairly rotten." "The news said the FBI didn't have any protection for the reporter." "He was supposed to be with Crawford by the time the Tooth Fairy got to the paper." "The news is calling him the Dragon now." "That's what he calls himself." "Well, there's something. I want to take Willie and leave here." "Go where?" "His grandparents. They haven't seen him in a while. They'd like to see him." "Oh, uh-huh." Willie's father's parents had a ranch in the Oregon coast. "It's creepy here. I know it's supposed to be safe, but we're not sleeping here a whole lot. Maybe the shooting lessons spooked me. I don't know." "I'm sorry, Molly." "I wish I could tell you how sorry." "I miss you. We both will." So she had made up her mind. "When are you going?" "In the morning." "What about the shop?" Evelyn wants to take it. I'll underwrite the fall stuff with the wholesalers just for the interest, and she can keep what she makes." "The dogs?" "I asked her to call the county. Will, I'm sorry, but maybe somebody will take some of them." "Molly, if staying here I could keep something bad from happening to you, I'd stay. But you can't save anybody, Will. I'm not helping you here. What's up there, you can just think about taking care of yourself. I'm not carrying this damn pistol for the rest of my life, Will." "Maybe you can get down to Oakland and watch the A's." "Didn't mean to say that. Oh boy, the silence is getting pretty long." "Well, look, I'll call you," she said. "Or I guess you'll have to call me up there." Graham felt something tearing. He felt short of breath. "Let me get the office to make the arrangements. Have you made a reservation already?" "I didn't use my name. I thought maybe the newspapers." Good. Let me get somebody to see you off. You wouldn't have to board through the gate and you'd get out of Washington absolutely clean. Can I do that?" "Let me do that." "What time does the plane go?" 9:40, American 118. "Okay, 8:30, behind the Smithsonian. There's a park right. Leave the car there. Somebody will meet you. He'll listen to his watch, put it to his ear when he gets out the car, okay? That's fine. Say, do you change at O'Hare? I could come out. No, change in Minneapolis. Oh, Molly, maybe I could come up there and get you when it's over. That'd be very nice. Very nice. Do you have enough money? The bank's wiring me some. What? To Barclays at the airport. Don't worry. I'll miss you. Me too. But that'll be the same as now. Same distance by phone. Willie says hi. Hi to Willie. Be careful, darling. She had never called him darling before. He didn't care for it. He didn't care for new names. Darling, Red Dragon. The night duty officer in Washington was glad to make the arrangements for Molly. Graham pressed his face to the cool window and watched sheets of rain whip over the muffled traffic below him, the street leaping from gray to sudden color in the night flashes. His face left a print of forehead, nose and lips, and chin on the glass. Molly was gone. The day was over and there was only night to face, and the lipless voice accusing him. Lowndes' woman held what was left to his hand until it was over. Hello, this is Valerie Leeds. I'm sorry I can't come to the phone right now. I'm sorry too, Graham said. Graham filled his glass again and sat at the table by the window, staring at the empty chair across from him. He stared until the space in the opposite chair assumed a man shape filled with the darkness and swarming motes, a presence like a shadow on suspended dust. He tried to make the image coalesce to see a face. It would not move. It had no countenance but, faceless, faced him with palpable intention. I know it's tough, Graham said. He was intensely drunk. You gotta try to stop. Just hold off until we find you. If you gotta do something, fuck, come after me. I don't give a shit. I'll be better after that. I've got some things now to help you make it stop. To help you stop wanting to do so bad. Help me a little. Molly's gone, old Freddy's dead. It's you, me now, sport. He leaned across the table, his hand extended to touch, and the presence was gone. Graham put his head down on the table, his cheek on his arm. He could see the print on his forehead, nose, mouth, and chin on the window as the light flashed behind it. A face with drops crawling through it down the glass, eyeless, a face full of rain. Graham had tried hard to understand the dragon. At times, in the breathing silence of the victims' houses, the very spaces the dragon had moved through tried to speak. Sometimes Graham felt close to him. A feeling he remembered from other investigations had settled over him in recent days. The taunting sense that he and the dragon were doing the same things at various times of the day. That there were parallels in the quotidian details of their lives. Somewhere the dragon was eating or showering or sleeping the same time he did. Graham tried hard to know him. He tried to see him past the blinding glint of shades and vials, beneath the lines of police reports, tried to see the face through the loafers of print. He tried hard as he knew how, but to begin to understand the dragon, to hear the cold drips in the darkness, to watch the world through his red haze, Graham would have had to see things he could never see. He would have to fly through time. Chapter 25. Springfield, Missouri, June 14th, 1939. Marion Dollarhide Trevane, tired and in pain, got out of a taxi at City Hospital. Hot wind whipped grit against her ankles as she climbed the steps. The suitcase she lugged was better than her loose wash dress, and so was the mesh evening bag she pressed to her swollen belly. She had 2 quarters and a dime in her bag. She had Frances Dollarhide in her belly. She told the admitting officer her name was Betty Johnson, a lie. She said her husband was a musician, but she did not know his whereabouts, which was true. They put her in a charity section of the maternity ward. She did not look at the patients on either side of her. She looked across the aisle at the soles of feet. In 4 hours she was taken to the delivery room, where Frances Dollarhide was born. The obstetrician remarked that he looked more like a leaf-nosed bat than a baby, another truth. He was born with bilateral fissures in the upper lip and in his hard, soft palates. The center section of his mouth was unanchored and protruded. His nose was flat. The hospital supervisors decided not to show him to his mother immediately. They waited to see if the infant could survive without oxygen. They put him in a bed in the rear of the infant ward and faced him away from the viewing window. He could breathe, but he could not feed. With his palate cleft, he could not suck. His crying on the first day was not continuous as that of a heroin-addicted baby, but it was as piercing. By the afternoon of the second day, a thin keening was all he could produce. When the shift changed at 3 p.m., a wide shadow fell across his bed. Prince Easter Mize, 260 pounds, cleaning woman and aide of the maternity ward, stood looking at him, her arms folded at the top of her bosom. In 26 years in the nursery, she had seen about 39,000 infants. This one would live if he ate. Prince Esther had received no instructions from the Lord about letting this infant die. She doubted that the hospital had received any either. She took from her pocket a rubber stopper pierced with a curved glass drinking straw. She pushed the stopper into a bottle of milk. She could hold the baby and support its head in one great hand. She held him to her breast until she knew he felt her heartbeat. Then she flipped him over and popped the tube down his throat. He took about 2 ounces and went to sleep. "Uh-huh," she said. She put him down and went about her assigned duties with the diaper pails. On the 4th day, nurses moved Marion Dollarhide Trevane to a private room. Hollyhocks left over from a previous occupant were in an enamel pitcher on the washstand. They had held up pretty well. Marion was a Hampson girl, and the puffiness was leaving her face. She looked at the doctor when he started talking to her, his hand on her shoulder. She could smell strong soap on the hand, and she thought about the crinkles at the corners of his eyes until she realized what he was saying. Then she closed her eyes and did not open them while they brought the baby in. Finally she looked. They shut the door when she screamed, then they gave her a shot. On the 5th day she left the hospital alone. She didn't know where to go. She could never go home again, her mother had made that clear. Marion Dollarhide Trevane counted the steps between the light poles. Each time she passed 3 poles, she sat on the suitcase to rest. At least she had a suitcase. In every town there was a pawn shop near the bus station. She had learned that traveling with her husband. Springfield in 1938 was not a center for plastic surgery. In Springfield, you wore the face you were born with. A surgeon at City Hospital did the best he could for Francis Dollarhide, first retracting the front section of his mouth with an elastic band, then closing the clefts in his lip by a rectangular flap technique that is now outmoded. The cosmetic results were not good. The surgeon had trouble to read up on the problem and decided correctly that the repair of the infant's hard palate should wait until he was 5. To operate sooner would distort the growth in his face. A local dentist volunteered to make an obturator, which plugged the baby's palate and permitted him to feed without flooding his nose. The infant went to the Springfield Foundling Home for a year and a half, then to the Morgan Lee Memorial Orphanage. Reverend S.B. Buddy Lomax was the head of the orphanage. Brother Buddy called the other boys and girls together and told them that Francis was a hare-lip, but they must be careful never to call him a hare-lip. Brother Buddy suggested they pray for him. Francis Dollarhide's mother learned to take care of herself in the years following his birth. Marion Dollarhide first found a job typing in the office of a ward boss in the St. Louis Democratic Machine. With his help, she had her marriage to the absent Mr. Trevane annulled. There is no mention of a child in the annulment proceedings. She had nothing to do with her mother. "I didn't raise you to slut for that Irish trash," were Mrs. Dollarhide's parting words to Miriam when she left home with Trevane. Marion's ex-husband called her once at the office. Sober and pious, he told her he had been saved and wanted to know if he, Marion, and the child he never had the joy of knowing might make a new life together. He sounded broke. Marion told him the child was born dead, and she hung up. He showed up drunk at her boarding house with his suitcase. When she told him to go away, he observed that it was her fault the marriage failed and the child was stillborn. He expressed doubt that the child was his. In a rage, Marion Dollarhide told Michael Trevane exactly what he had fathered and told him he was welcome to it. She reminded him that there were 2 cleft palates in the Trevane family. She put him in the street and told him never to call her again. He didn't. But years later, drunk and brooding over Marion's rich new husband and her fine life, he did call Marion's mother. He told Mrs. Dollarhide about the deformed child and said her snagged teeth provided the hereditary fault and had lay with the Dollarhides. A week later, a Kansas City streetcar cut Michael Trevane in 2. When Trevane told Mrs. Dollarhide that Marion had a hidden son, She sat up most of the night, tall and lean in her rocker. Grandmother Dollarhide stared into the fire. Toward dawn, she began a slow and purposeful rocking. Somewhere upstairs in the big house, a cracked voice called out of sleep. The floor above Grandmother Dollarhide creaked as someone shuffled toward the bathroom. A heavy thump on the ceiling, someone falling, and the cracked voice called in pain. Grandmother Dollarhide never took her eyes off the fire. She rocked faster, and in time, the calling stopped. Near the end of his 5th year, Francis Dollarhide had his first and only visitor at the orphanage. He was sitting in the thick reek of the cafeteria when the older boy came for him and took him to Brother Buddy's office. The lady waiting in Brother Buddy was tall and middle-aged, dredged in powder, her hair in a tight bun. Her face was stark white. There were touches of yellow in the gray hair and the eyes and teeth. What struck Francis, what he would always remember, she smiled with pleasure when she saw his face. That had never happened before. No one would ever do it again. "This is your grandmother," Brother Buddy said. "Hello," she said. Brother Buddy wiped his own mouth with a long hand. "Say hello. Go ahead." Francis had learned to say some things by occluding his nostrils with his upper lip, but he did not have much occasion for hello. Hello was the best he could do. Grandmother seemed even more pleased with him. "Can you say grandmother?" "Try to say grandmother," Brother Buddy said. The plosive G defeated him. Francis strangled easily on tears. A red wasp buzzed and tapped against the ceiling. "Never mind," his grandmother said. "I'll just bet you can say your own name. I just know a big boy like you can say his name. Say it for me." The child's face brightened. The big boys had helped him with this. He wanted to please. He collected himself. "Cunt face," he said. 3 days later, Grandmother Dollarhide called for Francis at the orphanage and took him home with her. She began at once to help him with his speech. They concentrated on a single word. It was mother. Within 2 years of the annulment, Marion Dollarhide met and married Howard Vaught, a successful lawyer with a solid connection to the St. Louis machine and what was left of the old Pendergast machine in Kansas City. Vaught was a widower with 3 young children, an affable, ambitious man 15 years older than Marion Dollarhide. He hated nothing in the world except the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which had singed his feathers in the voter registration scandal of 1936, and blasted the attempt in 1940 by the St. Louis machine to steal the governorship. By 1943, Vaught's star was rising again. He was a brewery candidate for the state legislature and was mentioned as a possible delegate to the upcoming state constitutional convention. Marion was a useful and attractive hostess, and Vaught bought her a handsome, half-timbered house on Olive Street that was perfect for entertaining. Francis Dollarhide had lived with his grandmother for a week when she took him there. Grandmother had never seen her daughter's house. The maid who answered the door did not know her. "I'm Mrs. Dollarhide," she said, barging past the servant. Her slip was showing 3 inches in the back. She held Francis to a big living room with a pleasant fire. "Who is it, Viola?" A woman's voice from upstairs. Grandmother cupped Francis' face in her hand. She could smell the cold leather glove. An urgent whisper. "Go see Mother, Francis. Go see Mother. Run." He shrank from her, twisting on the tines of her eyes. "Go see Mother. Run." She gripped his shoulders and marched him toward the stairs. She trotted up to the landing and looked back down at her. She motioned upward with her chin. Up to the strange hallway toward the open bedroom door. Mother was seated at her dressing table, checking her makeup in a mirror framed with lights. She was getting ready for a political rally, and too much rouge wouldn't do. Her back was to the door. "Mother?" Francis piped, as he had been taught. He tried hard to get it right. "Mother?" She saw him in the mirror then. "If you're looking for Ned, he isn't home." "Mother." He came to the heartless light. Marion heard her mother's voice downstairs demanding tea. Her eyes widened, and she sat still. She did not turn around. She turned out the makeup lights and vanished from the mirror. In the darkened room, she gave a single low keening that ended in a sob. It might have been for herself, or it might have been for him. Grandmother took Francis to all the political rallies after that, and explained who he was and where he came from. She had him say hello to everyone. They did not work on hello at home. Mr. Vaught lost the election by 1,800 votes. Chapter 26. At grandmother's house, Frances Dolarhyde's new world was a forest of blue-vined legs. Grandmother Dolarhyde had been running her nursing home for 3 years when she came to live with her. Money had been a problem since her husband's death in 1936. She had been brought up a lady and she had no marketable skills. What she had was a big house and her late husband's debts. Taking in boarders was out. The place was too isolated to be a successful boarding house. She was threatened with eviction. The announcement in the newspaper of Marion's marriage to the affluent Mr. Howard Vaught had seemed a godsend to grandmother. She wrote to Marion repeatedly for help but received no answer. Every time she telephoned, a servant told her Mrs. Vaught was out. Finally, bitterly, grandmother Dolarhyde made arrangement with the county to begin to take in elderly indigent persons. For each one she received a sum of the county and erratic payments from such relatives as the county could locate. It was hard until she began to get some private patients from middle-class families. No help from Martin all this time, and Marion could have helped. Now Frances Dolarhyde played on the floor with the forest of legs. He played cards with grandmother's mahjong pieces, pushing them along feet twisted like gnarled roots. Mrs. Dolarhyde could keep clean wash dresses on her residents, but she despaired at trying to make them keep on their shoes. The old people sat all day in the living room listening to the radio. Mrs. Dolarhyde had put in a small aquarium for them to watch as well, and a private contributor had helped her cover the parquet floors with linoleum against the inevitable incontinence. They sat in a row on the couches and in wheelchairs, listening to the radio, their faded eyes fixed on the fish or on nothing, or something they saw long ago. Frances would always wonder and remember the shuffle of feet on the linoleum in the hot, buzzing day, the smell of stewed tomatoes and cabbage from the kitchen, the smell of old people like meat wrappers dried in the sun, and always the radio. Rinso white, Rinso bright, happy little wash day song. Francis spent as much time as he could in the kitchen because his friend was there. The cook, Queen Mother Bailey, had grown up in the service of the late Mr. Dolarhyde's family. She sometimes brought Francis a plum in her apron pocket, and she called him Little Possum, always dreamin'. The kitchen was warm and safe, but Queen Mother Bailey went home at night. December 1943. Francis Dolarhyde, 5 years old, lay in bed on his upstairs room in grandmother's house. The room was pitch dark with its blackout curtains against the Japanese. He could not say Japanese. He needed to pee. He was afraid to get up in the dark. He called to his grandmother downstairs. "Ima? Ima?" He sounded like an infant goat. He called until he was tired. "Please, Ima?" He got away from them then, hot on his legs and under his seat, and then cold, his nightdress sticking to him. He didn't know what to do. He took a deep breath and rolled over to face the door. Nothing happened to him. He put his foot on the floor. He stood up in the dark, nightdress plastered to his legs, face burning. He ran to the door. The doorknob caught him over the eye, and he sat down in wetness. He jumped up and ran down the stairs, fingers squealing on the banister, to his grandmother's room. Crawling across her in the dark and under the covers, warm against her now. Grandmother stirred, tensed, her back hardened against his cheek, voice hissing, "Magnificent." A clatter on the bedside table as she found her teeth, clacked as she put them in. "I've never seen a child disgusting as dirty as you. Get out and get off this bed." She turned on the bedside lamp. He stood on the carpet shivering. She wiped her thumb across his eyebrow. Her thumb came away bloody. "Did you break something?" He shook his head so fast droplets of blood fell into grandmother's nightgown. "Upstairs, go on!" The dark came down over him as he climbed the stairs. He couldn't turn on the lights because grandmother had cut the cords off so short, so only she could reach them. He did not want to get back in the wet bed. He stood in the dark holding onto the footboard for a long time. He thought she wasn't coming. The blackest corners in the room knew she wasn't coming. She came, snatching the short cord on the ceiling light, her arms full of sheets. She did not speak to him as she changed the bed. She gripped his upper arm and pulled him down the hall to the bathroom. The light was over the mirror, and she had to stand on tiptoe to reach it. She gave him a washcloth, wet and cold. Take off your nightshirt and wipe yourself off. Smell of adhesive tape and the bright sewing scissors clicking. She snipped out of a butterfly of tape, stood him on the toilet lid, and closed the cut over his eye. Now, she said. She held the sewing scissors under his round belly, and it felt cold down there. Look, she said. She grabbed the back of his head and bent him over to see his little penis lying on the bottom blade of the open scissors. She closed the scissors until they began to pinch him. Do you want me to cut it off? He tried to look up at her, but she gripped his head. He sobbed, and spit fell on his stomach. Do you? No, Emma. No, Emma. I pledge you my word, if you ever make your bed dirty again, I'll cut it off. Do you understand? Yes, Emma. You can find the toilet in the dark, and you can sit on it like a good boy, if you don't have to stand up. Now go back to bed. At 2 a.m., the wind rose, gusting warm out of the southeast, clacking together the branches of the dead apple trees, rustling the leaves of the live ones. The wind drove warm rain against the side of the house where Francis Dollarhide, 42 years old, lay sleeping. He lay on his side, sucking his thumb, his hair dampened flat on his forehead and his neck. Now he awakes. He listens to his breathing in the dark and the tiny clicks of his blinking eyes. His fingers smell faintly of gasoline. His bladder is full. He feels on the bedside table for the glass containing his teeth. Dollarhide puts in his teeth before he rises. Now he walks to the bathroom. He does not turn on the light. He finds the toilet in the dark and sits down on it like a good boy. Thank you. That was part 9 of Red Dragon. Thank you for listening, and good night.